Ryan Collins wiped his sweaty palms on his formal uniform as he stood outside the enormous doors of the Galactic Council chamber. After 5 years of messages, signals, and careful talks, Earth had finally earned a seat at the table. Not a full seat, just a watching seat, but it was still more than humans had ever achieved before. "Remember, Ambassador Collins, do not speak unless spoken to," said the small green alien beside him. Grunts was from a species called the Vexley, and he had been assigned as Earth's guide. "The Council does not look kindly on new species who talk too much." Ryan nodded. He was 32 years old, with brown hair and serious blue eyes. Before becoming Earth's first ambassador to the stars, he had been a top scientist and diplomat. Now he felt like a kid on the first day of school. The giant doors slid open with a soft hiss. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped into the famous Galactic Council chamber. The room was shaped like a huge bowl, with hundreds of platforms floating, at different heights. Each platform held representatives from different worlds. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Ryan's mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. Grunts led Ryan to a small platform near the bottom of the room. "Your observation position, Ambassador. Please remember, Earth is the newest member here. Your status is very low." Grunts bowed slightly and floated away to his own people's position. Ryan stood tall despite the many eyes watching him from above. Some aliens looked curious, others looked bored, and a few looked openly disgusted. Humans were still seen as barely more than smart animals by many species. The council meeting began with announcements that Ryan could barely follow. Different aliens spoke about trade routes, border disputes, and scientific discoveries that made his head spin. He tried to look confident and interested, even when he didn't understand half the words being used. Then the calm meeting suddenly changed. A group of tall, blue-skinned aliens with silver hair entered through a special door. The entire council fell silent. "The royal delegation from the Zeltarian Empire," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. Ryan had been briefed about the Zeltarians. They controlled one of the largest empires in the known galaxy. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of Earth's. They were known for their natural mental abilities and their strict social rules. At the center of the group walked a being who could only be their king. He wore a crown-like device that floated above his head, and his robe seemed to shift colors with each step. Behind him walked 3 females, each wearing similar but simpler floating crowns. They had to be princesses, Ryan thought. The king took a position on one of the highest platforms. He looked down at the council with cold eyes. "I, King Vorzath of the Zeltarian Empire, have come to announce a change in my royal house," he said in a voice that boomed through the chamber. Ryan watched closely. This wasn't in any of his briefings. King Vorzath pointed at the third princess, who stood slightly apart from her sisters. She was shorter than the others, with darker blue skin and eyes that looked straight ahead without emotion. "I hereby remove Princess Zelana from the royal succession," the king announced. "Her empathic abilities have failed to develop to acceptable levels, and her interests lie in improper directions for one of royal blood. She will no longer represent the Zeltarian Empire." A shocked murmur ran through the council chamber. Ryan saw the princess's face remain completely still, though her hands tightened into fists at her sides. "This is most unusual, Your Majesty," said one of the council leaders, a tall, insect-like being. "What is to become of the princess?" The king waved his hand dismissively. "She is no longer my concern. The council may find some use for her if they wish." Ryan was shocked. Did the king just abandon his daughter in front of the entire galactic government? What followed was a strange and uncomfortable discussion. Various council members suggested positions or places where the former princess might be sent. Each suggestion was politely refused, with reasons that sounded logical, but felt like excuses to Ryan. Finally, one of the oldest council members, a floating cloud of purple gas contained in a special suit, turned toward Ryan's platform. "Perhaps our newest provisional member might benefit from a cultural exchange. The human civilization is primitive but shows potential. They could learn much from hosting a Zeltarian, even one of reduced status." Ryan felt hundreds of alien eyes turn to look at him. Many of the aliens had expressions he couldn't read. but those he could understand seemed to be holding back laughter. The council leader nodded. Ambassador Collins, would Earth be willing to host Princess Zelana as a cultural attaché? It would. Show your people's commitment to galactic cooperation. Ryan knew a trap when he saw one. If he refused, Earth would look ungrateful and might lose its provisional status. If he accepted, he would be stuck with a princess that even her own father didn't want. Earth would be honored, Ryan said carefully. But I'm afraid we don't have proper facilities for Zeltarian royalty. Former royalty, corrected the king coldly. The princess will adapt, said the council leader. In fact, as Earth's ambassador, perhaps you should personally oversee her integration, a direct cultural exchange. Ryan's heart sank. Not only was Earth being saddled with the rejected princess, but he personally was being made responsible for her. Of course, he managed to say. Soft laughter rippled through the chamber. Ryan understood the joke now. The primitive human was being stuck with the defective princess. To these ancient species, it probably seemed hilarious. Princess Zelana finally moved. She stepped forward, her face still showing no emotion. I accept this assignment, she said in a clear voice. I will observe Earth culture and provide what insights I can. Ryan met her eyes across the chamber. They were deep purple, and despite her controlled expression, he could see fierce intelligence and wounded pride in them. The council leader nodded. Then it is decided. Princess Zelana will accompany Ambassador Collins to Earth as a cultural attaché. This meeting is adjourned. As the aliens began to move and talk, Ryan stood frozen on his platform. His first council meeting, and somehow he was returning to Earth with a disowned alien princess. How was he going to explain this to his superiors? Krantz floated back to him, looking uncomfortable. My condolences, Ambassador. It seems you have been... How do humans say it? You have been played. Ryan sighed. Yes, that's exactly how we say it. Across the chamber, Princess Zelana was walking toward him, her head held high despite everything. Her father and sisters had already left without looking back. Ryan straightened his uniform. Whatever game the council was playing, he wouldn't let them see that it bothered him. Earth needed this alliance too much. Welcome to the team, Princess, he said as she approached. I hope you don't mind roughing it on a primitive planet. For just a second, something that might have been surprise flickered in her purple eyes. The journey back to Earth was long and uncomfortable. Ryan's small diplomatic ship wasn't designed for royal passengers, even former ones. Princess Zelana said almost nothing during the 3-day trip. She sat stiffly in the co-pilot seat, staring out at the stars, her face showing no emotion. Ryan tried several times to start a conversation, but got only short answers. By the time they reached Earth's orbit, he had given up trying. That's my planet, he said as the blue-green world came into view. Home to about 8 billion humans. Zelana looked at Earth through the view screen. Primitive, but not without charm, she said. Her voice was cool and flat. Your atmosphere has too much oxygen. Ryan sighed. This was going to be a long assignment. After landing at the Colorado Space Center, Ryan had to deal with a flood of questions from Earth officials. No one had expected him to return with an alien princess. There were forms to fill out, calls to make, and explanations to give. Zelana stood silent through it all, looking bored and slightly disgusted by the humans staring at her blue skin and purple eyes. She'll stay at my research facility, Ryan finally told his bosses. It has secure areas and living quarters, plus I can keep an eye on her there. His research center was a large building in the mountains outside Denver. Ryan had been its director before becoming Earth's ambassador. Now he would have to juggle both jobs while babysitting a royal alien. This will be your room, Ryan said, showing Zelana to a large guest suite in the facility's living area. I'm down the hall if you need anything. Zelana walked into the room and looked around slowly. It is adequate, she said. It was the closest thing to approval Ryan had heard from her. We start work at 8 a.m., Ryan said. I can show you around the labs tomorrow. I do not require much sleep, Zelana said, and I have no interest in your primitive laboratories. Ryan felt his patience wearing thin. Look, Princess, I didn't ask for this assignment any more than you did, but we're stuck with each other, so we might as well try to make it work. Zelana turned her back to him. You may leave now. Ryan walked out, wondering if all Zeltarians were this difficult or if it was just the royal ones. The next morning, Ryan introduced Zelana to his team. Dr. Amber Winters, the lead physicist, was polite but wary. She had short blonde hair and glasses that kept sliding down her nose. Welcome to Earth, Your Highness, she said with a small bow. I am no longer royalty. Zelana corrected her. That title is not appropriate. What should we call you then? Asked Alan Blackwood, the security chief. He was tall and serious with dark skin and watchful eyes. Zelana seemed to consider this. Zelana is sufficient. The tour of the facility was going badly. Zelana showed no interest in any of the labs or equipment. She followed Ryan with obvious boredom, occasionally making comments about how basic and simple everything was. When they reached the energy research lab, Ryan's patience was at its end. This is where we're developing new clean energy sources, he explained. We're working on fusion technology that could replace fossil fuels. Fusion? Zelana finally looked interested. Show me your containment system. Ryan pointed to a large device in the center of the lab. That's our experimental fusion reactor. We can't maintain a stable reaction for more than a few seconds yet. Zelana walked closer to the device. She studied it carefully, then looked at the computer showing data from previous tests. Your magnetic field configuration is inefficient, she said, and your plasma temperature is too low. Ryan felt defensive. We're making progress. This is cutting-edge technology for us. For you, perhaps. Zelana pointed to a screen showing a diagram of the reactor. Your approach is logical but flawed. Zeltarian children learn better methods in basic education. Before Ryan could respond, an alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout. The facility. What's happening? He shouted over the noise. Alan's voice came over the speaker system. Gas leak in Lab 3. The ventilation system is down. We have people trapped inside. Ryan ran toward the emergency, with Zelana following close behind. When they reached Lab 3, Alan was outside the sealed doors. 2 researchers are still in there, he said, looking at a tablet showing security camera feeds. The gas is blocking the cameras. We can't see where they are. What kind of gas? Asked Zelana. Nitrogen compound. Not immediately deadly, but they'll suffocate if we don't get them out soon, Alan explained. I can find them, Zelana said suddenly. Ryan looked at her in surprise. How? My empathic abilities. While weak by Zeltarian standards, they are sufficient to locate conscious minds through walls. Zelana closed her eyes and placed her hand on the door. There are 2 minds inside. One is near the west wall. The other is under a table in the center of the room. Ryan looked at Alan. Can we trust this? Alan shrugged. Do we have a choice? They put on gas masks and emergency teams broke through the doors. Following Zelana's directions, they quickly found both researchers exactly where she had said they would be. Back in the safety of the hallway, Ryan watched as medical teams took care of the rescued scientists. Your empathic abilities worked perfectly, he said to Zelana. I thought your father said they were weak. Something flashed in Zelana's purple eyes. By Zeltarian standards, they are. Our royal family can sense emotions across great distances. I can only sense minds within a limited range. But you were incredibly precise, Ryan pointed out. You knew exactly where they were. Precision is not valued in the royal court, Zelana said quietly. Only power and range matter there. Ryan studied her face. For the first time, he saw something besides coldness or boredom. There was pain there, and something else. Pride, maybe. Different skills have different values in different places, he said carefully. What's useless in one situation might be life-saving in another. Zelana met his eyes. A surprisingly wise observation, Ambassador. Call me Ryan, he said. If we're going to be working together, we might as well use names. Are we working? Together? Zelana asked. I was under the impression I was merely an unwanted burden. Ryan smiled slightly. Maybe we can change that impression. Would you be willing to look at our fusion project again? This time, I'd like to hear your thoughts in detail. Zalana nodded slowly. I would not object to that. As they walked back, toward the energy lab, Ryan noticed that Zalana's posture had changed. She walked beside him now, not behind him. It was a small change, but maybe it was a start. By the way, he said, that was impressive back there. Thank you. Zalana didn't smile. Ryan wasn't sure if Zeltarians could smile, but her voice sounded less cold when she replied, You are welcome, Ryan. 6 months passed quickly. The cold mountain winter melted into spring, and the relationship between Ryan and Zalana had thawed as well. What had started as an unwanted assignment had grown into a productive partnership. Ryan watched from across the lab as Zalana worked with Dr. Amber Winters on a complex equation. The Zeltarian no longer acted superior around the human scientists. Instead, she had found a place where her precise mind and unique abilities were valued. The simulation is ready, called Alan from his computer station. Should we run it? Ryan nodded. Let's see if the new configuration works. Everyone gathered around the main screen as Alan started the program. The computer showed a model of their redesigned fusion reactor. Numbers and graphs appeared, tracking the virtual energy output. It's stable, Zalana said, watching the simulation closely. The reaction is maintaining itself. The team broke into smiles and cheers. For months they had been combining Zeltarian scientific principles with human innovation. Now they were close to creating a clean energy source more powerful than anything Earth had seen before. We should test it with the real reactor next week, Ryan suggested. If it works, we can present the results to the Global Energy Commission. Later that evening, Ryan found Zalana in the facility's garden. She often came here to look at the stars. The night was clear, and the Milky Way stretched across the sky. Beautiful, isn't it? Ryan said, sitting on the bench beside her. Yes, Zalana agreed. Though from here I cannot see my home world. Ryan glanced at her. Do you miss it? I miss certain aspects, she admitted. The crystal forests, the floating cities, my younger cousins. She paused. But I do not miss the court politics or my father's disappointment. You've never really told me why he rejected you, Ryan said carefully. They rarely talked about personal matters. Zalana was quiet for a long moment. In the royal family, empathic powers are everything. My sisters can sense emotions from across a city. My father can read minds from orbit. I can only sense minds within a few hundred feet. She looked down at her hands. But what I lack in range, I make up for in precision. I always thought that had value, but my father did not agree. His loss, Ryan said simply. Your precision saved lives here, and your scientific knowledge has helped us make breakthroughs we might not have achieved for decades. A small smile appeared on Zalana's face. Ryan had learned that Zeltarians could smile, they just rarely had reason to. Perhaps there is something to be said for being among people who see value in different kinds of strength, she said. The moment was interrupted by a flashing light from Ryan's communicator. He checked the message and frowned. What is it? Zalana asked. The Space Center just detected an approaching ship, Ryan explained. It's Zeltarian. Zalana's smile vanished. Did they send identification? Yes. It's registered to Prince Drazek. Ryan watched her face carefully. Your brother, right? Zalana stood up suddenly. Yes, my oldest brother. This is unexpected. The next morning, Ryan, Zalana, Amber, and Alan waited at the landing pad as the sleek Zeltarian ship touched down. It was much larger and more impressive than the small diplomatic vessel Ryan had used to bring Zalana to Earth. The ship's door opened, and a tall Zeltarian male walked out. He wore elaborate silver armor and had the same floating crown device that King Vorzath had worn. His skin was a brighter blue than Zalana's, and his white hair was long and braided. Sister, Prince Drazek said, giving Zalana a formal bow. It has been too long. Brother, Zalana replied with equal formality. This is unexpected. Why have you come to Earth? Drazek smiled, but the expression didn't reach his eyes. Is that any way to greet family? I've come to see how you are faring among the humans. He looked around at the mountains and the facility. And to bring news from home. Ryan stepped forward. Welcome to Earth, Prince Drazek. I'm Ambassador Ryan Collins. The prince barely glanced at him. Yes, the human assigned to watch my sister. I trust she has not been too much trouble. Zelana has been a valuable colleague, Ryan said firmly. We're honored to have her here. Drazek looked surprised at Ryan's tone. How quaint. He turned back to Zelana. We have much to discuss, sister. In private. Ryan didn't like the prince's attitude, but he nodded to Zelana. You can use the conference room. As the two Zeltarians walked away, Amber moved closer. To Ryan. I don't trust him, she whispered. Did you see how he looked at us? Like we're insects? I know, Ryan agreed. But he's her brother. We need to let them talk. Alan crossed his arms. I'm going to keep security on high alert. An hour later, Zelana found Ryan in his office. Her face was troubled. What did he want? Ryan asked. My brother says that my father wishes me to return home, she said slowly. He claims that the king regrets his decision and wants to restore my position in the royal family. Ryan was surprised. That's good news, isn't it? Zelana sat down, her movement stiff. Perhaps, but it is also suspicious. My father is not known for changing his mind or admitting mistakes. Do you believe Drazek? Zelana hesitated. I sensed deception when he spoke, but I could not determine about what. My brother has always been skilled at hiding his true thoughts. What will you do? Ryan asked. I am uncertain. Zelana looked directly at Ryan. I have built something here. Meaningful work. Respect. I am not eager to return to a place where I am seen as defective. Before Ryan could respond, there was a knock at the door. Alan entered, looking concerned. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you should see, he said. We've been monitoring communications from the Zeltarian ship, and we picked up an encrypted message to their homeworld. Were you able to decrypt it? Ryan asked. Alan nodded grimly. Only part of it. But it mentioned something about retrieving the research data and eliminating local obstacles. Zelana's eyes widened. That does not sound like a family reconciliation. No, it doesn't, Ryan agreed. I think we need to find out what your brother is really doing here. That night, while Prince Drazek was sleeping in his guest quarters, Ryan, Zelana, and Alan sneaked into the Zeltarian ship. Zelana used her knowledge of Zeltarian systems to bypass the security measures. Inside, they found what they were looking for. Detailed orders from the Zeltarian royal court. Not to bring Zelana home, but to steal the fusion technology she had helped develop and erase all evidence of Zeltarian involvement. They want our research, Ryan said, reading the translated documents. They plan to claim it as their own. And they intended to take me back by force if necessary, Zelana added, her voice tight with anger. This was never about reconciliation. Ryan looked at her. There's more. Look at these earlier communications. Zelana read them and her face paled to a lighter shade of blue. This suggests that my exile was planned from the beginning, a way to extract human scientific approaches through me. It was a setup, Alan said. The whole thing, your father disowning you, the council sending you here, it was all to spy on our research. Ryan placed his hand on Zelana's shoulder. I'm sorry. Zelana stood very still for a moment. Then she straightened her shoulders. We should go. My brother has guards who check the ship regularly. As they slipped back out into the night, Ryan could see a new determination in Zelana's eyes. Whatever happened next, things between Earth and the Zeltarian Empire had just gotten much more complicated. Morning came too quickly. Ryan had barely slept after their discovery in the Zeltarian ship. He gathered his team in the secure conference room before Prince Drazek would be awake. We need a plan, Ryan said to Amber, Alan, and Zelana. When, Your brother realizes we know the truth, he'll make his move. He will attempt to take our research data and me by force, Zelana said. Her voice was calm, but Ryan could see anger in her purple eyes. Zeltarian royal guards are trained to be efficient and ruthless. Alan checked his security tablet. I've quietly increased our guards, but we're a research facility, not a military base. We're not equipped to handle alien soldiers. We need to alert Earth's government, Amber suggested. Get military backup. Ryan shook his head. That would take too long, and if we make this public, it could cause a diplomatic disaster. Earth is still new to the galactic community. We can't afford to look weak or paranoid. Then what do we do? Alan asked. Ryan looked at Zelana. I think we need to take this to the Galactic Council directly. Show them the evidence of the conspiracy. The Council? Amber looked doubtful. The same council that arranged this setup in the first place? Not all of them were involved, Zelana pointed out. Many council members simply follow tradition or political pressure. If we can prove that certain members conspired with my father, we might find allies among the others. It's our best option, Ryan decided. We'll take our evidence to the council and demand a hearing. But first, we need to secure our research and deal with Prince Drazek. Amber stood up. I'll back up all our data to secure servers and prepare some surprises in the lab systems. Anyone who tries to steal our work will get some nasty surprises. I'll prepare the diplomatic ship, Alan said. We'll need to leave quickly. Just then, the facility's alarm system blared to life. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Security breach in Lab 1, a voice announced over the speakers. Unknown intruders detected. Alan checked his tablet and swore. It's the Zeltarians. They're making their move now. They must have realized we found their plans, Zelana said. My brother is not one to wait when his advantage is lost. Ryan tapped his communicator. All staff, evacuate to the safe zones. This is not a drill. He looked at his team. Amber, get to the backup server and protect our data. Alan, secure our exit route. Zelana, you're with me. They split up, moving quickly through the facility's halls. Ryan and Zelana headed toward Lab 1, where the main fusion research was kept. Do Zeltarian soldiers have special abilities I should know about? Ryan asked as they ran. They are stronger than humans and have light battle armor, Zelana explained. But unlike the royal family, most have no empathic powers. When they reached the lab area, they found 2 human guards unconscious on the floor. Inside Lab 1, Prince Drazek and 4 Zeltarian soldiers were downloading data from the main computers. Stop right there, Ryan shouted, entering the lab with Zelana beside him. Drazek turned, looking annoyed rather than surprised. Ambassador Collins, you're becoming a nuisance. We know about the conspiracy, Ryan said. We have proof that this whole arrangement was a setup to steal Earth's research. The prince smiled coldly. And who will believe you? A primitive species barely allowed into the council against the word of the Zeltarian Empire? Don't be foolish. The mime. Council has rules against technology theft, Zelana said, stepping forward. Even for powerful empires. Drazek laughed. Sister, you always were naive. Rules exist for the weak to follow and the strong to use. He gestured to his guards. Take the human. We'll bring him with us for questioning. 2 guards moved toward Ryan, their hands reaching for weapons at their sides. I wouldn't do that, Amber's voice came from the lab speakers. This facility has some interesting security measures. Suddenly, the lights in the lab changed to a deep purple. The Zeltarian. Soldiers staggered, looking dizzy. What is this? Drazek demanded, also swaying slightly. A sound frequency that affects Zeltarian inner ear balance, Zelana explained with satisfaction. Something I helped design. Humans can't hear it, but for Zeltarians it's quite disorienting. Ryan took advantage of the distraction, grabbing a fire extinguisher from the wall and spraying it at the closest guards. The cold foam disoriented them further. The data transfer is corrupted, one of the soldiers told Drazek, looking at the computer. And there's some kind of virus attacking our systems. Another of our security measures, Ryan said. Amber is very good with computers. Drazek's face twisted with anger. This changes nothing. We will simply take you both back to Zeltaria and extract what we need directly. He pulled out a weapon that looked like a silver rod. Even with your little tricks, you cannot stop us. Maybe they can't, said Alan from the doorway. 6 security guards stood behind him with stun weapons. But we can. You would attack diplomatic representatives? Drazek asked in disbelief. This will mean war. No, Ryan said firmly. It will mean a council hearing about how you violated multiple galactic laws by attempting to steal technology and assault Earth representatives. For a moment, everyone was still. Then Drazek lowered his weapon slowly. This is not over, he said. My father will not allow such disrespect. Your father will have to answer for his part in this conspiracy, Zelana replied, as will certain council members. 3 days later, Ryan, Zelana, Alan, and Amber stood before the Galactic Council. Their evidence was presented on the main display screens for all representatives to see. The chamber was in an uproar. These are serious allegations, said the insect-like council leader, against both the Zeltarian Empire and members of this council. The evidence is clear, Ryan said. The entire arrangement was designed to extract Earth's scientific approaches. Princess Zelana's exile was never about her abilities, but about using her as a tool to spy on our research. From his high platform, King Vorzath glared down at them. He had arrived just minutes before the hearing began. This is absurd, he declared. The word of primitives and a disgraced princess against the Zeltarian Empire? Not just their word, said a new voice. A representative from a small reptilian species stood up. Our intelligence services have confirmed parts of their evidence. Other species have experienced similar attempts to extract technology. More representatives began to speak, some defending the Zeltarians, others supporting Earth's claims. The chamber grew louder with arguments. Silence, commanded the council leader. The room quieted. We will investigate these charges fully. Until then, all technology transfer between Earth and Zeltaria is suspended. King Vorzath stood, his robes swirling around him. This council has no authority to dictate to the Zeltarian Empire. Actually, it does, Ryan said, stepping forward. When you signed the Galactic Technology Exchange Treaty 300 years ago, you agreed to council oversight in matters of technology theft. The king looked shocked that a human would know such details of galactic law. Ambassador Collins is correct, the council leader confirmed. This matter will be investigated properly. Ryan looked up at the king, then around at the council members who had mocked Earth only months ago. Many now watched him with new interest and respect. Earth may be new to the galactic community, Ryan said clearly, but we will not be exploited. We came here to share knowledge and build relationships, not to have our innovations stolen. Beside him, Zelana stood tall, facing her father without flinching. For the first time since Ryan had met her, she looked truly proud. 1 month after the dramatic council hearing, Ryan stood by the large window in his office looking out at the mountains. The investigation was still ongoing, but things had already changed in ways he never expected. There was a knock at his door. Zelana entered carrying a data tablet. The council just sent their preliminary findings, she said. They have confirmed much of our evidence. Several council members have been removed from their positions for their part in the conspiracy. Ryan nodded. And your father? The Zeltarian Empire is too powerful to face serious consequences, Zelana admitted. But they have been forced to pay reparations to Earth and several other worlds affected by similar schemes. Politics, Ryan sighed. Some things are the same everywhere in the galaxy. Zelana almost smiled. Indeed. But there is more news. The Council has upgraded Earth's status. You are now full members, not just observers. Ryan turned to her in surprise. That's years ahead of schedule. Your handling of the situation impressed many species, Zelana explained. Earth showed both technological innovation and diplomatic skill. That combination is rare and valued. Our handling, Ryan corrected her. I couldn't have done it without you. A soft chime interrupted them. The communication screen on Ryan's desk lit up, showing a Zeltarian face. It was not Drazek, but an older female with elaborate silver hair decorations. "Ambassador Collins," she said formally. "I am Royal Advisor Marina of the Zeltarian Court. King Vorzath requests a private audience with Princess Zelana." Ryan looked at Zelana, who nodded slightly. "We accept," he said. The advisor's image disappeared, replaced by the stern face of King Vorzath. His floating crown seemed dimmer than Ryan remembered. "Daughter," the king said, his voice carefully controlled. "The recent unpleasantness has created difficulties for our empire." Zelana stood straighter. "I am sorry to hear that, father." The king's eyes narrowed at her lack of apology. "Nevertheless, the court has decided that a public reconciliation would be politically advantageous. Therefore, I am officially restoring your royal status and recalling you to Zeltaria." Ryan felt a cold weight in his stomach. After everything that had happened, the king was still playing political games. "And, if I decline?" Zelana asked calmly. For a moment, the king looked genuinely surprised. "Decline? Why would you decline restoration to the royal family? Despite your limitations, you are still Zeltarian royalty." "I have found a place where my abilities are valued, not mocked," Zelana replied. "Where precision is seen as a strength, not a weakness." The king's expression hardened. "You would choose to remain among primitives rather than return to your rightful place? Think carefully, daughter. Once this choice is made, there may be no returning." Ryan wanted to speak up, to defend Earth against the king's insults, but he knew this was Zelana's moment. Her decision. Zelana was quiet for several seconds. Then she lifted her chin and looked directly at her father. "I formally request political asylum on Earth," she said clearly. "I wish to continue my scientific work here as an official Zeltarian liaison." The king's face flushed a deeper blue with anger. "You would abandon your heritage, your family, for what? A primitive world that will take generations to reach even basic galactic standards?" "No," Zelana said. "I am embracing a new purpose. Earth may be young in galactic terms, but they approach problems in ways our empire has forgotten. They value innovation over tradition, and they judge ideas on merit rather than source." The king stared at her in disbelief. "You have been contaminated by their thinking." "I have been liberated by it," Zelana corrected. "Good day, father." The screen went dark as the king cut the connection. Ryan looked at Zelana with concern. "Are you all right?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. I have been preparing for that conversation since we discovered the conspiracy." She turned to him. "That is, if Earth will accept my request for asylum." "Of course we will," Ryan said immediately. "Your knowledge is invaluable to us, and you've more than proven your loyalty." "Thank you," Zelana said. Then she added, "I should warn you that my decision will cause quite a stir in the council. A Zeltarian royal choosing Earth over the Empire is unprecedented." Ryan smiled. "I think we can handle a little more attention." 3 weeks later, Ryan and Zelana stood on a platform in the newly expanded Earth Embassy on the council station. Before them stood a group of aliens from various worlds. Some were scientists, others diplomats, but all had one thing in common. They were considered unusual or difficult by their own species. "Welcome to the first meeting of the Human Zeltarian Scientific Exchange Program," Ryan said to the group. "We're bringing together minds from across the galaxy to solve problems in new ways. Many of you were overlooked or undervalued in your home societies," Zelana added. "Here, we judge ideas on merit, not origin. Different perspectives are our strength, not our weakness." A small green alien with 6 eyes raised a tentacle. "Is it true that you were once mocked by the council for working together? That they thought it was a joke to pair a human with a rejected Zeltarian princess?" Ryan and Zelana exchanged glances. "Yes," Ryan admitted. 6 months ago, many thought it was funny to stick a primitive human with a royal misfit. Now they are not laughing," Zelana said. "Now they are watching with interest and some with concern." After the meeting, Ryan and Zelana walked through the Earth Embassy. Staff members nodded respectfully as they passed. The Earth's status in the galactic community had grown significantly since their confrontation with the Zeltarians. The fusion reactor is fully operational now, Ryan said as they walked. Clean energy for the whole planet within 5 years. And the medical research team has made progress with the cell regeneration technology, Solana added. The benefits of combining approaches are clear. They reached the observation deck and stopped before the large window. The vastness of space stretched before them, countless stars and worlds. 3 new species have asked to join our exchange program, Ryan said, all considered difficult by galactic standards. Creative minds often are, Solana noted. Traditional societies tend to resist new ideas. A soft chime sounded from Ryan's communicator. He checked the message and his eyebrows rose in surprise. What is it? Solana asked. The Galactic Council is requesting our help, Ryan said, reading the message. There's a crisis in the Andromeda sector. An energy anomaly that's destroying planetary shields. Traditional approaches have failed. And they're asking Earth? Solana sounded pleased but surprised. They're asking us specifically, Ryan clarified. The human Zeltarian team that created the new fusion technology. Solana's purple eyes met his. From mockery to requesting help in 6 months. That may be a new record in galactic politics. Ryan smiled. Not bad for a primitive human and a rejected princess. For the first time since he had known her, Solana laughed. It was a musical, sound that seemed to surprise even her. We should prepare, she said, composing herself. The council does not ask for help lightly. As they turned to leave, Ryan looked back at the stars one more time. What had started as a diplomatic embarrassment had become something neither of them could have imagined. Earth had found its place in the galaxy not through power or wealth, but through seeing value where others saw only weakness. Ready for our next adventure? He asked. Solana nodded. Always.